Now, the British Boxing Board of Controllers announced it's cancelling all fights under its jurisdiction, with the decision due to be reviewed at the start of April. Sky Sports' Spencer Oliver joins us live right now from North London. Thanks for joining us, Spencer. Right, what impact will this have on boxing?
Listen, it's going to have a massive impact in boxing because we don't know the certainty or the future of the sport, you know, the immediate future of the sport. It's a big problem. It's a global problem we've got to overcome. You know, this is not going to go away, and if that means shutting sporting events down in the foreseeable future, then it's got to be done. But it's going to have a massive effect, obviously, on the sport.
Yeah, we had a little chat with Eddie Hearn earlier. He told us the bigger fights, he thinks, like AJ against Pulev, would not be behind closed doors. But could you see that option perhaps for lesser fights, less prominent fights?
Yeah, listen, I think, guys, look, I think it's definitely an option because, as I said, this is a global problem that we've got here. It's a pandemic that we need to get rid of. You know, I think that we've got to, you know, in the divided world that we live in, we've got to put all the politics aside and we've got to come together and sort of get rid of this virus. And if that means doing sporting events behind closed doors, etc., then I think that's something that has to be done, and I think it's something that could be done, and I think that's a decision they may well take in April when the British Boxing Board of Control have that meeting. It may be something that needs to be done because boxers need to be paid. You know, boxers need to earn a living, and while we're on lockdown and there's no boxing shows, it's going to be difficult for some of the fighters that are out there. So I really feel for them, but it's also going to be a big problem for the fighters if they do go ahead. That if we go into lockdown, how do they train? You know, we've got to look at all these side of things. So, yeah, there's a lot of things to overcome, and the uncertainty of boxing is definitely a big problem.
Yeah, because it's not just what goes on in rings like you've got behind you for the 12 rounds or whatever. You have to be physically ready for this. Training camps, I guess, they're almost self-isolation, aren't they? But you have to have the right people around you. You have to go through that training, or otherwise the dangers increase, I would think, would they not?
100%. Look, if you go into self-isolation, now a boxer, he needs to be running regularly, he needs to be sparring regularly, he needs to be doing his pad work to get his timing, to get his fitness up. Now, that's a massive problem. If he's just training at home on his own, what's he going to do? Just shadow box? That's not going to be enough, and that could cause problems. And I think that that's what the Boxing Board of Control are going to be looking at in the ring, and they'll still want to fight. But the reality is, are they going to be fit enough? And that's what we've got to look at.
And one of the other implications is a worldwide travel ban. You might be able to travel internally in your country. So does that perhaps put more prominence on domestic fights going forward, would you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Hugely. I mean, Derek Chisora is meant to be boxing on the 23rd of May against Alexander Usyk. You know, that fight's got to be in doubt because due to the travel restrictions, and the same for Dillian Whyte versus Alexander Povetkin. I mean, that fight could be in danger as well. Povetkin, you know, has got to travel as well. So we don't know if these fights, they're all uncertainties. You know, it depends whether fighters can travel. So you can't just do it internally. You can't just have British fighters fighting British fighters because, you know, when you put an event on, you know, there's fighters come from all over the world, all over the globe. To make an event work, you know, we have to get fighters coming in, and we don't know if people are going to be able to fly in the country, out the country, you know, because I think the next 7 to 10 days are going to tell us a lot more. You know, we could go into lockdown, and then, you know, we'll find out a lot more after that.
You mentioned Derek Chisora there. Let's just break away from coronavirus-related issues for a moment. We had David Haye naming his top 5 heavyweights, and despite being Chisora's manager, he wouldn't name him in his top 5. What do you make of that?
Well, I think that's a fair assessment. Listen, I've known Derek Chisora since he was 17 years of age. He's a great fighter, Derek, and we know he always brings a fight. He's become a crowd's favourite. People love him. You know, if you look at the guy's record, he's had over 40 fights. I think he's lost 9 of those now. Normally, if you look at heavyweight's career, if he's lost 9 fights out of 40-odd fights, his career is pretty much over. But Derek Chisora is very much at the top of his game at the moment. Is he a world top 5 heavyweight? No, definitely not. You know, if you look at the landscape of the heavyweights that are out there at the moment, they're so strong. You know, with the top heavyweights that we've got at the moment, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, and Wilder, just to name a few.
Okay. Thanks very much for joining us. Lovely to speak to you.
Cheers, guys.